love projects that bring together different interests of mine. So for me, this was a way to connect my passion for aviation. I've been a pilot now for 2 years. So to connect that passion with my engineering studies, my environmental studies major, and I'm also a staff member of the Dyer Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Lafayette College, because it's always on my mind whenever I'm flying. So when I first got to fly an electric plane and not be burning any fossil fuels, it was an absolute treat.
Good morning, Patrick. It's Paul Barron here from EV Club at Connecticut and TinkerTry.com, and I'm here at Waterbury, Oxford. We've had a Ford F-150 Lightning since
July.
And over your shoulder here, I'm going to zoom in. That's your truck.
There it is out there.
And there it is. And what is it charging?
It is charging a plane.
Exactly.
That runs on electricity.
There you go. Pipistrel is who makes it.
Yep.
This is the first one in Connecticut, I believe.
I believe so.
And you were at Brainerd Airport in Hartford at 4:15 this morning to juice it up.
4:15, we all met up, this
All right.
whole group from Lafayette College.
Do you have any idea how many kilowatts or how long it's saying it's going to take to charge? Basically, the plane tells you, right?
Yeah, I think we're going to be about an hour charging off of my F-150 Lightning.
Here in Waterbury, and then Danbury.
And then to Danbury.
Is that going to be you again, or someone else's F-150?
Yeah, we've got the inverter, I think it is,
Yep.
in the back seat of the F-150 right now.
Okay.
And so it's all strapped in tight. So I think we're going to keep it there because it took a little, muscle to get it there. And I think we got a pretty good setup right now. And
Do you happen to know what your state of charge is going to be on your F-150 Lightning when you're done here in like half an hour?
From what I've heard, the plane does not actually take all that much energy out of the big battery that's in the truck. But we'll see. I was 79%.
All right, thank you. Who else did you meet here today? There's somebody doing a documentary of some sort.
Yep, there's a lot of the students from Lafayette are all various majors, and some of them are in film and media. And so Remy, who's leading the charge here from Lafayette College, he brought in different students with different expertise to document the event, and it's been really cool. We have a student with us that's from the Bronx. She's majoring in media, and so she's documenting a lot of this, and it's just really cool to be involved with it all.
All right, you said it's okay to introduce me to your son. What's your name?
I'm Colin. I'm in 5th grade.
Awesome. Did you get to see the plane earlier?
Yes, we saw it while planning this trip.
And you got to see inside the plane?
Yes, I got to sit in it.
You going to the next spot too with your dad?
Yes.
It's Danbury. Okay, so you're together all day.
We're doing the whole trip to Pennsylvania.
Oh, you're going to all the way to Pennsylvania today, both of you. Cool. What time is the event that this plane is doing the flyover?
Next weekend.
Okay, so
So
this
they
is
got
in preparation.
It's on Friday, November 18th.
All right, so you got 2 weekends of fun. Well,
So we're heading back from Pennsylvania. We're not doing the football.
He's got to go to school, so we're going to go to Pennsylvania and back in the same day.
I don't remember how silly it was that when I was a child, there were all gas planes, and it was this big of a deal to help an electric plane fly.
thank you so much for being on camera. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
They make two versions that are very similar, the Alpha Electro and the Velis Electro. You couldn't tell them apart pretty much from the outside if you didn't know exactly what you were looking for. This is the Alpha Electro, and there are 5 Alphas and 6 or 7 Velises in the US right now.
Now called experimentals, the kind.
Yes, yeah, they're experimental. So the Velis is actually certified in Europe under EASA and is used at flight schools. But there are no certified fully electric aircraft or hybrid electric aircraft in the United States right now. They're all experimental at this point.
So the restriction is no passengers, right? It's people that are, who's authorized to fly these?
Well, so the way that experimental works is you can fly with passengers. You can't fly for compensation. There's special rules about where you can fly. Like in order to bring the plane here, we had to submit a program letter and get special FAA waivers for this.
Okay,
so
cool. And I missed your name. I just started
Remy,
recording.
yes. Remy Oaktai.
Thank you, Remy.
Yep.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York. I go to Lafayette College in Easton, Pennsylvania.
Oh, awesome.
And then we flew out here to Connecticut to do this cross-country trip in.
Oh, cool. So the pilot. So when did you get to Hartford then? Yesterday?
Yesterday evening. Yeah. So I flew. So there's 9 of us from the Easton crew. So Jeff Akopian, a Lafayette alumni, drove his Tesla, and 4 Lafayette students. I flew my family's Cessna and 3 students. So we had 9 of us all come out. I've been a pilot for 2 years.
Before you even got to college?
Yes. So I did my first year of college, and then I took COVID gap year. And during that gap year, I got my pilot's license. I bought a school bus and converted it into a solar-powered RV, and then worked at a vaccine clinic. So it was fun.
As one does.
Fun
Converted
year.
a bus. Okay.
Yeah.
What's inside the bus?
So I just ripped out all the seats. My sister, who's also here, we bought buses together and we converted them in our driveway. So we put in, I have a queen size bed, a countertop, fridge, freezer, sink, cook plate. Everything's electric, so it's all electric induction hot plates.
How big an inverter did you need?
It's a 3,000 watt
There you
inverter, 850 watts of solar on the roof, and a 5 kilowatt hour battery. I lived down in North Carolina in my school bus when I was going to flight school there this summer, and because the sunshine was just so bright there, I was cooking all my meals, storing all my food, fridge, freezer in 100-degree weather. The battery never dropped below 75%
Oh my gosh.
state of charge. So it was just cruising. It was awesome.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, have a shower in there, have a bathroom, so full living situation.
Who owns the Cessna in the family?
My grandparents.
So your grandparents, what do they think of all this going electric?
They love it, and they're actually going to be meeting us at Stewart. So 2 stops from now, they'll be meeting up with us. And they'll be flying along in the Cessna on the convoy.
That's really cool. So maybe it becomes somewhat practical in 2-3 years at a similar price point, or is it just crazy?
I think it's probably going to be more like 7 to 10, and we're going to see. The trajectory of planes is going to follow a similar trajectory as of cars, but they're not just because we have really great electric vehicles right now doesn't mean that electric planes are at that same point in development. Because there's the main difference is just what's been researched in terms of battery chemistries. Electric cars, there's been a ton of research gone into them, but they really care about cost. So we need low cost batteries, but weight is not a consideration at all. I mean, look at a Tesla, it weighs twice as much as a normal sedan. Planes, on the other hand, exact opposite. Cost really isn't a factor, but weight is absolutely a factor. So it's a complete switch of priorities and design constraints for battery design, which is why we're seeing such a difference in terms of capabilities between electric cars and electric planes. So we're gonna switch to hybrid. It's really gonna be hybrid electric first in terms of real commercial utility, and then we'll start to see more battery capacity, less gas capacity, sort of like we saw hybrid, and then plug-in hybrids, and then fully electric.
Yeah, I don't claim if a Pipistrel or something like it 3-4 years from now were to replace the Cessna, the capabilities would not be the same, not the flight time and all. It'll take much longer for the technology.
Right.
However, the price, I don't know. What is it? It can be double. I mean, a Cessna would be used at this point from the 50s or 60s or 70s, right? And even those are over 200,000 or something, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the Pipistrel that's about a $200,000 plane, and our Cessna is much newer and is about twice that.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's taking a much further flight time and range.
Right.
Much further.
Yeah. And the thing is too with electric and hybrid electric aviation, it also depends on the mission. So cars really, they drive places, right? And that's kind of what you do. You have trucks that haul cargo, but there aren't as many different flight profiles, if you will.
Sure.
The Alpha Electro and the Veloz Electro are very specifically made for flight training. And Pipistrel's been really smart in how they designed this setup where they built 2 planes that are exactly the same airframe. One's electric, one's gas. And when you're doing your private pilot's license, you do a lot of it. About half of your training is just learning how to take off and land. So you're just doing laps around an airport. So what they've done is they said, okay, get some of the electric planes, use those for all your laps. You're right near the airport, so you can just keep doing laps. And then when you need to do your cross-country trips where you're going more than 50 nautical miles, which is what's required by the FAA, then you just switch into the gas one at this point in time based on where the technology is, and then you can continue that. So the mission scope of this aircraft that we're using is really just laps around the pattern. So it's not meant as a cross-country hauler, and that's why it works to be all electric at this point in time. If you do touch and goes, right, so you come in, you land, you roll, then you power back up, and then you take back off, it's probably only like 10 minutes around So you could probably, in the electric plane, you could probably get 4, 5, 6 laps in comfortably.
And the cost, the operating cost per hour compared to a traditional plane is vastly less. Do you have any idea how many X less?
Yeah, so in terms of fuel, that's the biggest X difference, right? So we use about $3 worth of electricity per hour in the Alpha Electro versus the Cessna, which we'll just compare it to. That's about $80 an hour just in fuel. So that's a huge difference.
And then there's maintenance.
And then there's maintenance on top of that. So in terms of total operating cost, the Alpha, I believe, talking with Phil, would be about $20, $25 an hour, whereas the Cessna's, if you take into account, and that's taking into account fuel, maintenance, and cost of the aircraft and such, is right around $350. So
nice.
Very
that's
different.
A huge difference. All right.
Yeah. How we looking? 76. Okay, are we still? What's the? Okay. We're at 5.9 kilowatts, so it has started dropping, but not super significantly. Oh yeah, are we gonna re-up the GoPros? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you can also see, so we got the wings wrapped. Actually, yeah, if we could make this, so this is a surprise, right? So we're bringing the plane to Lafayette to do the flyover at the football game. So if we could not have, you can take pictures to post outdoors. This is just a surprise for Lehigh during the flyover, but we want it to be a surprise so that we fly over and they're like, what? No way, they got the wings wrapped.
Can you or one of them talk me through how the charging's set up here?
Sure, yeah. So we'll start in the truck.
Yep.
So we're using, I'll just
hop
in
side,
here.
or, yeah,
does this work? Yeah, so we got F-150 Lightning, and this is the 9.6 kilowatt Pro Power onboard package, which gives us 7.2 kilowatt, 240 volt, 30 amp outlet in the back. So we got two inverters back there, A and B, that are 180 degrees out of phase with each other, which gives us two hot leads, which gives us that 7.2 kilowatts because it just adds those two wattages together. So we have that system turned on here, and we can head to the back. That plug comes in here. This section of the cable is built by the Lafayette Engineering Department, which allows us to connect this special plug to this special plug. That then comes in here, through here, and then ratchet strap down. Originally this was going to go in the back of the truck, but it's raining, so this is our backup plan. This is an AC to DC converter. This unit is usually what's built into EVs. So whenever you go and you do level 2 charging, this is what is built into your car and is charging your DC battery. But to save weight on the plane, they made it external. So this is taking in that 240, you can see input, 240 volt, 30 amp input, and swapping that over to 400 volt, 15 or 16 amp probably right now, DC power. So this shows us our charge power. There's efficiency losses from that 7.2 kilowatts. We have it slightly derated, and then the efficiency losses means we're only putting about 5,900 watts into the plane itself.
This thing get warm?
I guess a little bit. The sides are a little toasty. The top's a little toasty.
Wow, you got it fastened down there?
Yeah, we got a double ratchet strap.
How much does this thing weigh, do you know?
About 150 pounds.
Oh my, yeah.
Yeah, and it costs about $15,000.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we were originally planning on having two, but the second one's stuck in Germany right now because we have 4 trucks, so the 2 teams would then each have one. But we reorganized the logistics plan so that this works this way. And Pipistrel here, so if you see these options, so this is how you select the charge amperage. We can choose 10, 16, 28, 50, or 70. This 28 option used to be 32, and the max output of the truck is 30 amps. So Pipistrel flashed us some custom firmware here, making this a 28 amp option so that we could pull max power from the truck and charge the plane faster, which is what's made this a 1-day trip, hopefully, instead of a 2-day trip.
Got it.
So that we don't have to charge at 16 amps. So we were down at 46, so we'll probably be putting in like 7 or 8 kilowatt hours.
What's its total capacity?
21.
21 total, okay.
Yeah, so compared to
Compared to
100,
the truck,
131
Yeah, wow.
in the truck, huge difference.
Yep. Got
Okay,
it.
so then from there, that charger goes through the truck and out of the other side. Comes that charger line, which then comes out here. And then that goes into the plane here. This is just our rain protection. So that's the charge plug. And then in here, you can then see the readout. So you can see, we'll open this up for you.
All right, let me get behind.
So we'll see we're coming in at 240 volt, 27 amp. And that's the DC, AC to DC converter, swapping that over to 396 volts at 15 amps, or it's 79% state of charge now.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. That all buttoned back up.
Oh, I really, that'll enjoy very much.
Let's do a quick cockpit tour here. How many GoPros do you have set out there? Are you getting a second one?
This will be our third.
Third, where's, all right.
Aircraft.
Right there in the,
One on the wing,
yep.
one that's going on the console here.
And then the
there's
third.
one there, and that one's recording their audio, so we can hear all their communications to the tower and all that.
There's a carbon fiber there? Looks like it.
Yeah, carbon fiber and fiber.
And Kevlar on the belly.
Oh, that's right, Kevlar bottom.
I look forward to seeing that footage.
Yeah.
Are there rules about how sturdy the mount's got to be? I guess there's a hole there, so no problem.
Well, yes, this is a tie down. This
Yeah,
is
it's
usually
perfect.
When you're parking it, it's a special mount that this company makes that goes around tie down rings. You also have one on the tail there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if we get in there before this next cell comes in, then we could.
I don't know.
Yeah, just knowing that this is all lagging, so we don't end up doing what we did last leg.
No?
What's it like?
No.
Yeah, it looked like it was lagging 10 maybe.
Wow, it was a fast takeoff roll.
You're kidding me?
About 12% more until we're done. So you'll see the clutch.
So now this plane is made where? In Slovenia?
Slovenia and Italy. I believe R&D facilities Slovenia and major production facilities in Italy.
Okay. All right. And now tell me about the batteries and that are on board in this plane.
Yeah, so these are LiPos, so lithium polymer batteries, which is how you save weight. It's similar to what racing drones and drones have. And there are 2 of them, so there's one door here, and then on the other side of the aircraft behind the seats, there's another one. So that's just for weight and balance to make sure that the weight is evenly distributed front to back, which is critically important in planes like this, planes like that, any small plane. Weight and balance is really, really important. What's fun though, right, so that's my family Cessna back there. Whenever I'm flying that, the weight changes throughout the flight because you're burning fuel. So that's a constant change of performance characteristics. But with this plane, it never changes weight. Once you're in it because the battery's full or battery's empty, weigh the same amount. So yeah, they're two batteries, 21 kilowatt hours combined. They're set up in parallel, so should one of them fail during flight, you can still continue the flight. And yeah, they're 400 volt batteries. And
Now, how does, I'm just curious, some sort of the flight characteristics in an EV plane versus a gas-powered plane. What is the torque like? You've obviously learned on planes like, not like this.
Correct, yes. Yeah, I mean, I have 200 hours in gas-powered planes, and now from these 2 flights and one before, probably like just over an hour in electric
So when you're on the runway
Yeah.
and you punch it,
Yeah.
is there a difference in torque? like there is an electric car versus a gas car, or how does it feel to you?
It's the same as when the first day I remember driving an EV for the first time, where you have that instant torque. So you're not building power as your engine is or you're not building power as you're going down the runway. You just feel that instant torque and you're off really quick. The landing and takeoff performance of this aircraft is really short.
Right.
So the plane back there, and I mean, it's hard to compare apples to apples, of course, because that's a over 3,000 pound aircraft when it's fully loaded, and this is a 1,200 pound aircraft when it's fully loaded.
Wow.
But you can definitely feel it, and I think from an aviation perspective, the biggest difference that is somewhat startling to people is how the prop will stop when you're taxiing, right? So once you start up your engine on a gas-powered plane, and you might have seen this with other jets that are around there, and there's also a jet at our previous stop. You're just burning fuel when you're taxiing, when you're getting clearances, and there's a lot of fuel used just on the ground. And I think in addition to just the amount of fuel that you save by conducting your flight without gas, of course, there's a lot of fuel that's burned by aircraft that are just sitting on the ground. But when we're stopped, we just stop the prop and we don't use any electricity. We just hang out there, we talk on the radios as we need to, wait for traffic to pass, and then we can get on our way. And there's also regen braking. So with this aircraft, if you dive steep enough, you'll start charging the battery. Albeit it's not a significant amount, and since it's not like cars where your braking is going and braking and going, it doesn't make a huge difference. But you do see the little throttle position or the little kilowatt meter go to negative when you're descending down.
Right. You know what I thought you were going to say was I thought when you stopped the prop that this car had this plane had actually motorized wheels that you could use, which would use less energy. But listen, I'm just it's a pipe dream for me. Tell me a little bit about one last question I have just on the logistics. The FAA must have certain kinds of restrictions or requirements when you're flying in an electric plane versus a gas-powered plane. I noticed when some of the reading I did that you have to land, or it's recommended, I'm not sure, with at least 30 minutes of flight time left. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So all aircraft that are flying what's called VFR, so visual flight rules, have to land with 30 minutes of cruise performance fuel left. So whether you're flying gas plane, electric plane, whatever aircraft, if it's VFR, then that's 30 minutes. If you're flying IFR, then that's 45 minutes, in addition to being able to fly to your alternate airport. So that's across the board. And from the FAA's perspective, while the airworthiness certificate of this plane shows that it is an electric aircraft, it's still an experimental category or experimental exhibition category aircraft. So to the FAA, in terms of how we're actually flying it, they don't really care that it's gas versus electric.
Right.
And that's why there's actually no certified electric aircraft in the States right now, because they're developing the certification process to be able to certify them.
Right.
So we're still in that.
Now I noticed that you are setting 2 world records here, or
Yes.
attempting to, and
Yeah.
I know you're going to do it,
Yeah.
Remy. I know you're going to do it.
We're not done yet.
No, you're not done yet, right? And I tell me what those 2 records are.
Yep.
And just curious about maybe how they compare to the existing record that's out there today.
Yeah, so it's not like we're throwing a football further than someone else did. So it's a first record kind of thing. There are other people who have done the world's first EV flight. That's been done a while ago. The first interstate EV flight, that's also been done multiple times. The first EV flight that was charged up with solar panels. We were talking with Joseph Oldham out in California, who actually did that with one of these same planes a few years ago. There's one of these, this is an Alpha Electro, so there's an Alpha in New Zealand and Australia that have also done world's first flights in Australia and New Zealand respectively. So for us today though, this is the first time that an electric plane has done a interstate trip, or even within a state trip, that is being recharged by an EV. So this is really cool to us because it can supply a lot of power and is incredibly mobile. In talking with Joseph about this project, he's like, yeah, that's really cool because you're able to go anywhere. For example, in Australia, they had a Cessna 182, so that's exactly the same aircraft as that, that carried that charger. So they took the rear seats when they were doing this a few years ago, because they didn't have an F-150 Lightning that could supply so much power from the back. They had a generator in the back of the Cessna, and they had that charger back there. So they'd land, and then they turn on the generator, plug in the charger, charge up the Alpha Electro, and then continue on. So this is really exciting to us because we're able to do it completely from EVs, from a mobile power pack that can take us anywhere. So that's the first world record. And then the second one is the first electric plane to do a flyover of a sporting event at a stadium, which I'm really excited about because I've always gone, or whenever I've gone to sporting events, you have big military jets that rumble the stadium and they're just making so much noise. I don't particularly love all the noise and having my whole body shook. And we're coining a new term, the anti-flyover. So we want to show people that the future of transportation, living near an airport, isn't going to be incredibly loud and obnoxious every time there's a plane going overhead, but rather it's going to be nice and purring, quiet aircraft moving around. So.
That's awesome. So Remy, just two other quick questions. First of all, I just got to say I'm super impressed not only with you personally and how eloquently and how geeky you got. So I asked you.
Yeah, did I get geeky enough for you?
You turned it up. I don't know half the acronyms you said, but I'm gonna study it. But I'm curious about you. What year are you at Lafayette right now? And
so I'm a junior.
You're a junior, and
Yep.
what is your major?
So engineering studies, environmental studies, double major, and a data science minor.
And you know what I love what you're doing is you're not just going to school, but you're out there affecting the world right now. And I'm curious, you've done this project, or you're going to do this project. I'm confident you're gonna nail it. What's your aspirations? Do you want to be a pilot? Do you want to get into engineering? I'm just curious a little bit about you as a person.
And I ask myself that a lot. And I'm not really sure yet. I really love projects that bring together different interests of mine. So for me, this was a way to connect my passion for aviation. I've been a pilot now for 2 years. So to connect that passion with my engineering studies, my environmental studies major, and I'm also a staff member of the Dyer Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Lafayette College. So this really brought together all of those interests of mine. And a lot of people asked when I was first going to flight school, do you want to become a commercial pilot? And that never really interested me. I got into aviation because my grandparents have been flying for 35 years now, and flew me and my family a couple times a year growing up. And I knew that in the future we might transition to then me flying my grandparents once they're no longer flying anymore, and we've made that transition now. So that was how I got into it. But now that I started learning about electric planes and learning how I could connect it with my other two majors, that's where this project really came from. And I could definitely see myself doing more aviation demonstrations in this space. I was talking with someone at one of the meetups at Waterbury, Oxford previously about new unleaded fuel. So all small piston engine aircraft still use leaded fuel. It accounts for 70% of lead contamination in the atmosphere today. The EPA has done a great job cracking down on industries that emit lead, but small general aviation aircraft still do. A new fuel, after 15 years of testing, just got certified for every single aircraft about 2 months ago. So that's a brand new product in the aviation industry. So I'd love to do something in that space to help get people aware of that, and then also adopting that new fuel so that we can continue to or stop spreading lead into the environment. There's an interesting study out of California that found that children who grow up within 2 to 5 miles of small airports have elevated levels of lead in their blood, and that's something that very much bothers me and has been on my mind ever since getting into aviation. So being able to do something like this, where we're able to spread awareness about electric aviation, and in the future potentially do something to get lead out of fuel. And then there's also biofuels for jets and diesel aircraft, switching them over to carbon neutral fuels. There are a lot of different ways that the aviation industry is evolving right now, and I'd love to be at the intersection of those. Maybe becoming a commercial pilot and doing demonstrations, but not a commercial pilot.
Well, you know, Remy, I'll say this, okay? You are a born leader. I don't care what it is you put your sights on. I've met you today.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who you were yesterday, right? and what I can tell you is that whatever you choose to do in life, I'm sure you're going to be super successful. And I just want to say that to the Lafayette football team, okay? Because
you better win.
This video is going up. This video is going up maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow on Out of Spec Reviews. And if you don't get the spirit and the energy from what Remy's effort is going on here, multi-state, look what he's doing. You guys better sure as heck win that game, okay? And I wish you, the football team, the best of luck. I wish you the success continuing on. I think you got weather in your favor, my friend, for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to clear up, which I'm excited for.
And I thank you so much for this very detailed explanation. And thanks again for everyone joining another episode of Out of Spec Reviews. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care now.
Sounds good. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Appreciate it.
I just want just one quick. If you could take that blanket off there.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a thumbnail.
I'll get the badge in there too. Yeah, so Zach, who was here before, I cannot thank him enough for designing these badges. If you see, so this actually has the plane being charged by the truck.
Yeah, I know. That was a cool logo.
Yeah, and then on the back, we got everyone on the Lafayette team all has their own call sign, the Pipistrel logo, and then all the sponsors of this project, and then a quote at the bottom: "Technology, like art, is a soaring exercise of the human imagination."
That's great. Excellent. If you could just come more forward, and whatever you want to do, if you want to do arms crossed, power pose, or if you want to do thumbs up, whatever you want.
What's involved in getting that Cessna to run the unleaded? I'm curious about that nerdy question.
Nothing. So that's the cool thing about this fuel. So it's been certified for every single aircraft in the general aviation fleet. So all the aircraft over there, all run unleaded fuel. And it's a drop-in replacement for that fuel. So and it's also, you can cut it with 100 low lead. So let's say you have it's called GAMI GL, GAMI G100 UL, yeah. So GAMI 100 octane unleaded, yeah. Let's say you have 100 low lead in your tanks, and you get to a fuel stop and they have GAMI now. You can just pop GAMI in. It can mix in any ratio, still work in the engine. Oh, great, starting again. Or does anyone else want to get photo? Or maybe we'll do your photo now without this blanket, and then we'll talk about it.
See how it works.
Is the catch cost, or what's the catch? Cost?
So for the fuel right now, so it's kind of a catch-22 situation, right? So fuel producers that make 100 low lead, their profit margins per gallon are a lot higher than automobile gas. So they really love making 100 low lead, and they're not going to switch over their production facilities until there's demand. And there isn't going to be demand until the price goes down. So it's kind of this circle where there isn't really much movement, and there are plenty of people working on it, but if there was more demand for it, then it would really help accelerate the adoption of it. There's a county out in California that did that study about children growing up near general aviation, small airports having elevated levels of lead in their blood. And that county banned 100 low lead fuel. So it's not sold at any of those airports. There's 94 UL, which isn't certified for all aircraft, only for some of them. But because of that policy, they then helped accelerate this testing, adoption, and certification of this unleaded fuel. So my hope is that we can help guarantee demand for fuel producers by both doing a demonstration flight with my family's plane with this fuel. I mean, this is a project that I'm putting the pieces together, but it's still a little ways out. But my long-term goal is to be able to get GAMI fuel, do a cross-country trip in the Cessna with it, show people how great of a fuel it is. It's been tested for the past 15 years, so it's good stuff. And then in this coming spring, potentially, do some policy advocacy through Lafayette College in our environmental studies department, to then have or propose policies to local state governments to say, let's ban 100 low lead starting in 3 years or 4 years. So then the fuel producers can say, okay, we're going to have guaranteed demand in 3 years. So let's start switching over our facilities, and then that can help start greasing the wheels to get that transition to happen, because it's always on my mind whenever I'm flying. So when I first got to fly an electric plane and not be burning any fossil fuels, it was an absolute treat. But it's one of those things one of my professors said to me. They said, keep doing what you're doing, Remy, but remember that Edison burned a lot of oil when he was designing the light bulb. So keep that in mind. Don't feel too guilty. Just keep going on your path, and you'll get there soon. So that's the next project in the books for for this aviation, engineering, environmental connection intersection.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, what we got here is we got our electrical instrument system here, the screen that's on. So this shows us our state of charge, so at 78%. We're pulling in 27 amps, 240 volts. So that's what we have selected there on the charger. And our charger is at 43 degrees Celsius. This is showing us what's going into the battery. So that's 396 volts, 15 amps DC. And the charger batteries, or the batteries themselves, are at 33 degrees Celsius. So that just stays up there and keeps us posted on the charge status. And then other than that, in terms of normal instrumentation, we have all the typical altimeter, airspeed indicator, HSI, all those things. Got our compass up there. Headsets, it's pretty bare bones. What's cool about this plane is that it has a ballistic parachute in it. So if anything were to happen where the plane could no longer fly itself, you just pull this handle right here, and then a big, huge parachute shoots out of the back of it in a rocket, and then the whole plane descends via the parachute.
That is so. Please don't use that.
No, I won't. Okay. I absolutely will not touch that. Okay, but it has a safety pin so when you're on your ground, someone doesn't accidentally pull it.
So Remy, if it's dark out or really bad weather, you can fly this plane just complete instrument?
So no, so this is not an instrument rated plane. This is only a VFR rated plane. So visual flight rules, which means you have to see where you're going. So there are various different VFR, minimum VFR weather restrictions in terms of visibility and distance from clouds and such that you have to abide by. So this is not an IFR rated.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well, thanks for that explanation. That's beautiful.
Absolutely.
I for one, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't fit in there.
It is a bit of a tight squeeze, but it's comfy. It's like a. I think you would too. I think it's like it's well protected, but it's one of those things that whether it be electric or gas, you gotta prepare for the worst. So Right Rudder Aviation out of Florida is the Pipistrel distributor for the States. That's where Phil and Lindsey's right over there. Okay. They're the ones who own this plane. So I just connected to them. I knew that we wanted to do an electric plane, so the FAA publishes online a database of every single registered aircraft in the United States. Yeah. So I figured out what the make, model, code of this is, downloaded the whole database, searched it, found all the registered addresses for where they all are, hopped on the phone, started calling people, found them, they're the closest one, and that's how we work this all out. But you can get them through Right Rudder. It took them quite a few months to get it here and all registered. They ship out of Europe, and I think this was 250,000.
Okay. Seth, you're trying to buy an electric plane or this electric plane someday?
Maybe.
Oh, cool.
What do you fly now?
I haven't flown in like 5 years because I have kids in high school. But once they're young, I have
more time.
I have the green light to fly again.
Okay.
Nice. So yeah, I haven't flown in a while. I used to fly out of Santa Monica Airport in LA. So, and I think that airport's closing, and I think there's a group of people trying to keep it open as an electric only airport.
Ooh.
So that would be cool.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, you should definitely talk with Phil, who's working on his green aviation program at the Brainerd Airport.
Oh, yeah? Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'd be interested to hear more about that. That's green is batteries or
Green Aviation Initiative is something I'm starting. So we have the electric version of it, and we also have the reciprocating version, where the only difference is the engine. So we can start people training in the reciprocating version, transition them to this aircraft in the future, and then commence their training in the electric aircraft.
And this company, Pipistrel, recently got bought out by the parent of
Correct.
Cessna.
Yep, Textron.
Textron, right?
Yep.
So does that mean they're going to be more?
Hopefully, that's what we're hoping for. So they were based over in Slovenia. Now they're based in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So Textron has started what they're calling Textron E-Aviation.
Right.
So they basically absorbed Pipistrel, and they kind of took over and have transitioned everything into E-Aviation. So we're interested to see how everything's going to progress here in the near future.
Oh. You're the one person I didn't get on camera. You own the plane?
Yes.
And what's your name?
Well, Lindsey.
So Lindsey, you're based out of Hartford, Brainerd Airport, right? Yeah. How long have you owned the plane?
We've owned it for about a year, not even.
You own this one?
Yes. Well, it's actually Hartford Aviation Business Technologies. Phil Smith, who's here a minute. Oh, there he is. He's one of our partners in it.
Thank you so much for offering this plane up for such a cool thing.
problem.
So like a 1 or 2 week loaner, right?
Whatever anybody needs.
The event is next weekend.
It's very inexpensive to operate.
Yep. Yeah, Remy did a great job explaining the math to me before. How much per hour? What a huge difference from a traditional gas plane. Unbelievable.
Well, Remy's been really great. Once he called me one day, it's like, okay, this kid's called me 2 times. I haven't gotten back to him. So that's okay. Then he got a hold of Phil, and all of a sudden Phil says, Lindsey, you got to listen to him. So then we got together, and it's been great. You know, between him, the college, we got ESPN, I guess, is going to follow us next week, hopefully. So
oh, nice.
So there's been a lot of behind the scenes. Again, I said Ford Motor Company, Textron.
And you've got a chase helicopter, right?
Yeah, we have a chase helicopter. Dave Armando, a partner of mine, helicopter flying. My concept of not only is it electric planes and cars, but green to green. So whether it's solar power, fuel cell, all types of alternative energy to be able to sustain all the other pieces of equipment that are out there, airplanes, cars. There's so much to do and so much to get on board in every direction. So we're not going to make a change in this world if we're going to be like everybody else. So we all have a little part in getting the EV up to a point here in the next 20 or 30 years. So there's less fossil fuels and so forth.
Oh, that's awesome.
Technology's here.
Was it difficult to get charging at the Brainerd Airport there?
No. So we've got the first charging station approved. Our CAA, our state, was really instrumental to get that. We opted with a portable one, and actually it's worked out better. And that's the reason we were able to get this onto the Ford Lightning truck and be able to take it around to different airports to keep up with the charging. Otherwise, we'd be stuck at one airport.
Oh, so it's your helicopter too. Wow.
Who's the pilot of this plane here?
Right here? Yeah, I've been flying that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's Remy's grandfather's airplane.
Nice.
His grandfather was in Poughkeepsie, right? So that's how so my friend of mine, they have a couple FBOs and they run them. So that's how we got connected. A friend of mine works or runs the FBO there, and they ran Poughkeepsie. So she gave Remy my number, and it just started going here.
Check him out. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I see the GoPro in the wing. What's the helicopter have? It doesn't have a camera hanging out, but you have someone hanging out the window, or
not hanging out the window.
Not hanging out the window.
That's Matt. Ours.
I'm Matt. I'll be operating camera. He's our cinematographer.
What kind of camera?
Sony FS5.
So 4K. This will be on YouTube or something, or a documentary.
We're gonna see. I mean, it's gonna hopefully go toward being on the Jumbotron at the game next week.
Oh no!
So because we're gonna cut to a live feed of them in the plane flying over, but there'll be a little bit of pre-roll for that, and then
nice.
We're gonna get together with all the media students from Lafayette and put together a little mini documentary.
Yeah. I didn't read it.
There's the checklist.
Yeah, pre-flight checker.
I don't like that there's like these big flocks of seagulls around.
This is the second flock of seagulls we've seen.